Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Goff, at BRG Brigade Kevin, joined again by my faithful friends and co-hosts at Avalangelist Aaron Music and at Callie Avs Agnew. Callie Agnew, how we all doing today?
We're here. We're still alive.
That's a good thing. Callie, yourself, how are you?
It's been a good week. Stressful, but good.
That's pretty much par for the course, I think. April's a grind.
Yeah.
It has been a grind.
I'm trying to move in the middle of the playoffs. That's a good idea.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah, I moved Saturday.
That's fun. Oy. Well, good luck to you on your move.
Yeah, thanks.
And hopefully you can still get all your playoff viewing in.
Yeah, I requested days off and luckily got help from coworkers, so I'm going to the Avs home games at least.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's jump in here. Your Colorado Avalanche, everybody. Our Colorado Avalanche won a playoff series.
In dominating fashion.
Not only did they win the playoff series. Whoop.
Party foul.
Sorry, my bad. Not only did they win a playoff series, but they beat the living pants off the Calgary Flames.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just point one thing out as well? So the Avs in the last 10 games against the Flames had only won 2, excluding this playoff series. So very proud of them for kind of getting over that hurdle.
Yeah.
Now they have another hurdle to get over.
Hey. We'll get to that. We'll get to that hurdle. As soon as she said that, I was like, oh, I know exactly what Aaron's going to say.
And yet you let it happen.
Yes, I did. I can't, Aaron, I would never stop you from being you.
Well, you're a good man.
So, I mean, nobody had the Avs taking out the Flames. I think most of us figured it would be a pretty interesting series to watch.
Flames and 6.
Flames and 6. Flames and 5.
7.
Flames and 4. Like there were a few folks there were lots that were basically just thinking the Avs were going to get in there, enjoy their presence, and then be unceremoniously taken out of the playoffs. Yippity-doo-dah, yippity-yay. Exactly. But the Avs really turned that on flipped the script on the whole thing. They looked like the higher-seeded team. Almost from the get-go. Calgary won Game 1 in a 4-0 game that the score I don't think was indicative of the type of game that it was.
They were the better team in that game.
I agree. Then from there on, it was the Avs win 3-2 in overtime in Game 2, and also in another game that I don't think was indicative of the game that was played. The Avs were clearly better. Woo! We're getting a lot of noise there on your. Game 3, of course, was a blowout. 6-2 Avalanche victory, which again could have been 12-2. Mike Smith was actually very good in that game, despite giving up 6 goals. Game 4, again, closer, another overtime game, the Avalanche win. And then Game 5, Avs all over the place. So they drop Game 1, sweep the next 4, and move on. How did they do it?
Through speed, teamwork, and Nathan MacKinnon reaching Super Saiyan.
And Mikko Rantanen, because Mikko had 9 points and Nate had 8.
This is true.
Though MacKinnon, there was so much beyond his points. He was just a dominating force.
He's not saying that. I just mean both of them were contributing exponentially.
Absolutely. They were both fantastic in the series. As you said, Callie, Rantanen had 9 points. MacKinnon had 8. Contributions all over the place. Ya boy, the Jinja, had a couple huge goals for the Avalanche in that series, tied Game 2 late, got the Avalanche going in Game 4 in the third period. Was a solid presence. Matt Nieto, Long Beach native, top line forward, Matt Nieto, with 2 shorthanded goals in the series in back-to-back games. This was the coming together of what so many of us thought the Avalanche could be from the start of the season. Contributions throughout the lineup, the stars being the stars, and good goaltending.
Yeah. And we saw flashes from other guys throughout the series as well that I think if they could get it clicking on all cylinders with their line mates, I think they could be contributing too. The biggest one for me being Tyson Jost. If he could get his line mates clicking with him, we saw him take the puck away from Smith quite a few times and actually generate scoring opportunities that like Andrighetto would just miss or not be ready for, or whatever the case was. So I think if we could get somebody clicking with Jost, he would be producing quite a bit more as well.
It would help if he got a little bit more ice time too, but at the same time, with the results, it's hard to complain too much.
Right.
I have to say, while we're on the topic, JT Compher and his line, Calvert and Nieto, usually it was, they absolutely shut down Jonathan Gaudreau.
I'm sorry, who? I don't recognize that name.
Jonathan Gaudreau.
Oh, wait.
Jonathan
Who's
not
that?
so Gaudreau.
Did he even get away? Ooh.
But, I mean, the Compher and Calvert especially, they stayed real close. They didn't let him get a lot of space, let him get started, so he couldn't stick handle. And the puck was up, it was out, and they were attacking the other way, and they were putting up points.
And clearly frustrating the hell out of him.
What's that?
Clearly frustrating the hell out of him.
Okay.
It's so evident.
I forget which game it was, but they showed that little highlight package of it might have been Game 5, where, and this was probably, I think this was on NBC because I don't get the altitude feed in Oregon, but where they showed a little highlight package of the frustration of Jonathan Gaudreau by the Avs, where he would, anytime he got there was a stick check of any kind, he'd fling his hand off the stick and shake it like crazy, and then look right at a ref, trying to get all these slashing calls. And it, like, I get you're frustrated, dude, but that's embarrassing.
Well, when you can't get enough space to do what you usually do, you have to try everything you can. So it's just got to be said that the Avs had a real shutdown line in the first round.
They absolutely did.
And once that Gaudreau, Monahan, and Lindholm line was taken out of the equation, the Flames didn't have a second option.
Their only
Tkachuk had a good first game.
Mm-hmm. But then Nikita Zadorov erased him.
Yeah. You could just see, it was almost like Adam Foote and Keith Tkachuk Part 2.
Yeah. Zadorov absolutely erased him. He was on the ice. I think he was matched up almost exclusively against Tkachuk. And
it was either him or Ian Cole.
Yeah, and they gave him nothing. Absolutely nothing. And after Game 1, he was really the big worry because he had 2 goals. Obviously, one's an empty net from way downtown. But, he's in front of the net on the power play with what was a really nice deflection in Game 1. And there was not a peep. He didn't even really do much as far as, like, he was around a little bit shenanigan-wise in Game 3 while they were getting boat raced. But even that, I wasn't too... He wasn't actually being excessively dirty in any of those. That one big hit he had on Landeskog, I had no problem with the hit. Landy had his head down. He went right through his chest, and then there was a little bit after the whistle, headlocks and things. But other than that, I mean, really, he was the least of the Avs' worries.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't even get to be a douchebag.
He tried.
Except for Game 3. That one where he punched Landeskog while Landeskog was on the ice,
Yes.
that got him kicked out of the game.
Yes.
Can we tip a hat to Jared Bednar for all of his matchups in that? And his line combos and everything else that he did? Because that was some great coaching and paying attention and really turning things kind of on their head.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, matchups were going to be a huge key in this, and as they are pretty much in any playoff series. But he got what he wanted, especially at home. They had their way at home, but he also had enough faith in his players that he didn't run away from the Backlund matchup with McKinnon. And
McKinnon turned that thing around.
Oh my God! Yeah, it was just he ate him alive.
Backlund was just like, "Can I get off now? Can I get off the ice? He's kind of scary."
Yeah, it was.
He makes me dumb. Please stop making him make me look dumb.
Man,
I haven't this bad since I was in junior.
About really the only negative thing you can say about the Avalanche from round one, too many penalties.
That's kind of their mantra.
That is kind of their mantra, yes, absolutely. Too many penalties. And they gave up a power play goal in every game except for Game 5.
Yeah, if they can play it 5-on-5, there's not very many teams that can match them 5-on-5.
Yeah. This is the fruition, I think, of what we wanted to start seeing from the Jared Bednar system. I mean, the defense, I was very impressed. We started seeing those layers of defense we always talked about with those Boston teams that were so good a few years back, where there's just extra levels of support everywhere. While the PK did give up goals in each game, there were a few, especially a couple. There was one in Game 5 where they were trying Calgary was trying a little tic-tac play where they went below the goal line and straight into the slot. For that, I mean, a lot of teams love doing that, and Calgary's very good at it. But the Avs clearly had it scouted, and the rotation happened so quickly that it was just perfect. Where they tried to go take the pass away, it wasn't there, but the guy had crashed down. The other forward had come down and lifted the stick just at the right moment, and you just went, video work at its finest, right there.
That was Comfer, I believe.
It might have been. I don't know.
Yes, it was. Oh, it was. Don't you give me might have been. It was.
Okay, I believe you.
There was like a 50-50 chance it was either Comfer or Calvert.
I wasn't aware. I just remember seeing it going, oh, that was so nice.
And there was also a huge kill in Game 3. They went on the penalty kill early in Game 3. And it was like, oh dear. But they were so solid on the kill, and it actually sparked their offense from there on out.
What were you going to say, Callie?
I said technically Calvert and Comfer are both gingers, so it's fine either way.
Very true. You get your ginger no matter what.
Yes, and then everyone's happy.
Ginger powers, woo! So, I mean, it's hard to find too many negative things to talk about with that first round series. Obviously, the penalties. You want to try to eliminate that as much as possible. Make sure that if you are taking penalties, you're killing them. Can't be giving up power play goals in every game of your series. That's just not a long-term method for success. But
two shorthanded goals, though.
2 shorthanded goals. Can't argue with that. And the power play, it wasn't great the first 2 games, but from Game 3 on, it was unstoppable.
I'll amend that. It wasn't scoring the first couple of games, but it was still pretty darn good. They were passing it around. Smith just had some really good saves on the first 2 games.
He really did.
kept them off the board.
Like, and I said it a couple times on on Twitter right after the series was coming down. A lot of us, myself very much especially in this, gave Mike Smith a lot of shit because he has a stupid helmet, and he was really dramatic with all of his glove saves. But he played he played very well in that series, and if it was not for him by a country mile, and if it was not for him, that would have been a 4-game sweep. The Avalanche would have swept the Flames, would have scored 30 goals in the. I mean, and that's only a slight exaggeration. Game 3 could easily have been 10 goals or more for the Avalanche if Smith had not played as well as he did.
In the 2 games at Pepsi Center, he faced 108 shots.
Yeah.
It's normal, right?
100%
yeah, totally.
normal. Mm-hmm. Absolutely normal.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We've just been conditioned to feel that way because we saw the Avs get shelled so many times.
It's nice to be on the other side of that.
It really is. It really, really is. I mean, vindication in a lot of things. This is an Avs team that belongs. It's vindication. You've got to say vindication for guys like EJ, Tyson Barrie, Landeskog, who've been here, McKinnon as well, who've been here through those really lean years, and are now seeing the rewards of not just playoff appearances and a couple playoff victories, but now they're into round 2 of the playoffs. You get past the first round, anything can happen. Absolutely anything can happen. So it's good to see all of this paying off, and the Avs have a date in round 2 with the San Jose Sharks.
Bring it on.
Can we talk about that Game 7 last night?
No, we can't.
We can't. Oh, sad.
You mean Game 8?
Yeah.
How many they played?
That was such a crazy game. I mean, looking back on it slightly, it was all in all, it was a pretty boring game that ended up being an insane game because of the last 10 minutes of regulation and a really fun overtime. There's
a few overtime games that were like that.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, you got to give San Jose credit for getting back in that. They're down 3-1. They get a big win in game 5 to force it back to Vegas. Somehow survive Game 6, a game they honestly had no business winning. But Martin Jones remembered how to hockey. And then Game 7, man, they were down and out, and then there was that power play, and holy cow, all bets were off. You ever seen anything like that? I mean, honestly.
No.
Not very often.
I mean, the only other time I can remember a massive swing like that happening off a 5-minute penalty was when the Kings won their first cup against the Devils. It was like, it was Game 6 back at home. I don't remember the exact player, but someone very early in the first period, very early in the game, it was in the first period, a Devils player boarded a Kings player. It was way more clear than what happened in San Jose yesterday. Guy's face went straight into the dasher. 5 in a game, he's gone. Kings get a power play. The 5-minute power play, score 3 goals immediately. It's over. It was over from there. I've definitely never seen anything like what happened here. We talked about it off air, so that penalty, we all pretty much agree, but we can go ahead and say it. Was that a 5-minute major?
Nope.
No.
What would you have even called a penalty?
Yes.
Maybe. Because playoff hockey is always a little bit different too.
True. Playoff hockey.
Maybe not.
The only thing is that it knocked Pavelski so far off balance that if it would have given Vegas a big rush going up ice. So I would have called that a penalty for interference. But I would not have called that a major. And the other thing that needs to get lost in this, Vegas, you had a 3-1 series win. You also had a 3-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
Power play or not, you have to overcome some of that stuff.
Oh.
I mean, the refs didn't score four goals in 5 minutes.
What was that, Callie?
I lost you guys for a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Cool.
So if you can't blame the refs for. You can blame the refs for the call. You can say you disagree with it. That's fine. The refs did not lose you the series. The refs never lose you a series.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I get kind of the immediate after the moment thing from the players, but I'm sorry, Jonathan Marchessault. No, that just as Aaron said right there, that did not lose you the series. Did that swing some momentum? Sure. But how many times do we hear in professional sports, regardless of the sport, the phrase, no one's going to feel sorry for you. No one's going to feel sorry for you. You have to play with what you're dealt.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Bad call. Yes. Swung some momentum. But I'm sorry, you've got to execute and kill the penalty. You can't give up 4 power play goals in 4 minutes. Just frustrating to watch that. I understand their frustration for sure, but
I will say watching San Jose, especially at the end, not even at the end of the game, in the middle of the game, if the Avs continue to push the pace, San Jose uses their top 3 defenders way too much to withstand that.
I agree.
Burns, Carlson, Vlasic.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 get more minutes than the bottom 3.
Yep.
And that's the one advantage the Avs have going into this, is the Avs will have 6 or 7 defensemen who can play regular minutes. They're all going to play different starts, different zones. And so the minute load isn't going to be heavy on any one person.
Yeah. Agreed. Cal, I think I heard you trying to jump in there a couple times, Callie.
Yeah, I think if they do play 7 defensemen for us, then that lets them pick kind of the situations and the matchups that they want a little bit more. Because situation dependent, they might want Nemeth and Z out there, or they might want Makar out there. You never know kind of what Bednar's thinking, but it gives him more of a purpose for the things that he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And he loves to mix and match his defensive pairings based on where they're starting.
Yes.
If it's offensive and he's really looking for a spark, Barry and one of the other 2 scorers.
Yeah.
If for defensive zone draws, Cole and Nemeth.
Which I will say, I do have to give Patrick Nemeth some credit for stepping up his game, because at this point, I don't even want to scratch him just to play Makar, because I think he's playing so well defensively and on the penalty kill that I feel like he's almost taken that option away.
Which is the option that comes here, and I'm all for it, is playing 11 defensemen and 11 forwards and 7 defensemen.
I was going to say that's quite a
defensive push.
That's a bold strategy.
We're going to run 3 defensemen on every play.
That's right.
Talking is weird.
Philip Grubauer comes and screens the goalie. I would love to see that. That'd be some crazy stuff right there. It's interesting question. The Avs are coming. I mean, what a great time to have a fast first playoff round, right? The Avs had some guys that need to get healthy, right? They lost Sam Girard early in the series after Sam Bennett was a little douchebag like he always is, and did another one of his leaping hits. What's that?
Why are you jumping into a hit on the smallest player?
Because he's a dirty player, and that's all he knows how to do.
Yep.
Check that one off the list. I mean, otherwise, it's Brassard seemed to have a little weird something going. He had the flu, but then he wasn't in. I don't know.
He had the flu because Soderbergh caught it.
Oh, Carl.
Yeah.
So
Carl.
And then, of course, it's good to just get a little bit of time to refresh the body and then not have to worry about those aches and pains and constant contact and bruises and all that jazz. It's just good to get relaxed here. So now the Avs have choices to make because they've got a pretty much healthy lineup coming into the second round here. So the options, as Aaron mentions, is maybe you go the 11-7 route, 11 forward, 7 defensemen, or you go 12-6, but then you have a weird question of who's the defenseman that you scratch, because I'm sorry, Cale Makar ain't getting scratched. Sammy G coming back ain't getting scratched. It's a tough choice. Do you scratch Nemeth? Do you not? I mean, there's certainly value in keeping him around. Callie outlined that pretty well, pretty darn well there, and there's benefits from a matchup perspective, just as Callie said there too, that you could figure out. What would you do?
I'm in favor of going 11-7 for two reasons. One, it constantly rotates the defensemen so that they're not getting used to, we need to attack this one pairing. And the other team isn't, that your defensemen aren't working too many minutes, especially if you go to overtime. That gives you a lot more minutes to spread throughout the defense so you can actually last a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the advantage of the way that he was skating. It gives Nathan MacKinnon an extra shift where you can throw him out with Tyson Jost and pick a name and get him away from Brent Burns and Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Erik Karlsson.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get the third pairing out there and you throw MacKinnon out, and suddenly he creates something, gets a little bit of momentum, gets a scoring chance. It's a matchup nightmare if you use it properly.
I agree. Callie, what do you think?
Yeah. I agree. I think you'd almost have to go with the 11-7 because at this point it's too hard to say that you're going to scratch any of our defensemen because they're all playing so well and they're all playing so well together, as opposed to the forwards where it's not going to be an easy decision for who to scratch necessarily, but I think it's still a little bit of an easier decision because the guys on the fourth line are getting less minutes already anyway. So I think it's easier to say, we really need this defenseman to come in and eat up all of this time, as opposed to this fourth liner who's just eating 4 or 5 minutes a night, whatever the case may be. And then I think with there being less defensemen than forwards, obviously, on the ice at a time, it just, if someone, God forbid, goes down for something or gets a penalty or whatever the case is, then you're still rolling 6 defense. So you aren't really down that man necessarily like you would be if you were rolling the 6 defensemen. That's
a great point. That is a really great point. There's always talk. They talked about it last night watching the San Jose Vegas games. That as soon as they lost a body, they're short. Their bench gets shorter, and the place that can make and break a game or a series even is really on defense. So if you've got that extra body, it's much better. It's almost a comfort blanket, so to speak, where you've got that extra person. So if someone does go down, you're still, just like you say, you got 3, just like Callie said, you got 3 pairings, 3 solid pairings instead of having to go with 5 and figuring out how to make that work. And it's much, again, I think you're spot on, Callie. You certainly have a much better justification for scratching Sven Andrighetto than necessarily Patrick Nemeth, and certainly not Sam Girard or Cale Makar. So I'm with both of you. I think the 11-7 route, all of what you say is absolutely right, and especially that matchup piece where if the Avs continue playing with that pace and that speed, getting that third line out, fourth line out, but sliding MacKinnon in there is no break for anybody. In fact, it's now it's like clench your butt time. We got to survive. And the way Bednar has been, he was so shifty throughout the Calgary series with the defensive pairings, where you just had no idea. I don't know how many times Ray Ferraro said, "I have no idea which defensive pairing is stepping out on the ice." I mean, if you're surprising people, that's a good thing in the playoffs, because then they can't anticipate, and you're dictating and they're reacting. And if you're doing that throughout the playoffs, that's the best possible result. You want to be the one dictating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look at this series then here as a whole. I mean, the fun ways to break it down. Offense. Who do you think has the advantage?
For depth scoring, I got to give it to San Jose. They've got 3 good lines that can come at you and score. For top-end forwards, I have to give it to the Avs, though. Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen is as good a line as you're going to find in the NHL.
And they haven't even been playing together in the playoffs.
No, and you throw them together when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But having those 3 players on your roster is a game changer.
Callie?
I agree. I do think, though, the Avs definitely stepped up their secondary scoring in the first round there. So if they can keep that up, I think that I give them the nod. Part of that's also with the question mark of Joe Pavelski, though.
Yeah.
That's a huge question mark. Hope he gets better soon.
Yeah, I hate seeing guys get hurt. As much as I hate playing against Pavelski because he kills us, he's an amazing player.
Yeah.
Hands down, have to give him, praise like nobody else. Like, he's a great player. So I think depending on how long he's out, if he's out, whatever the case might be there, I think that's going to be a big factor with San Jose and their potential scoring as well.
That's very fair.
Yeah. I almost see the offense as a bit of a push, for kind of both the reasons you said. Like, depth-wise, if there's just seems to be more top to bottom scoring for San Jose, but higher end. It's all the "what have you done for me lately" type of thing, and the Avs are getting it where they need it right now. The Sharks got enough from the last couple of games, but it wasn't really consistent throughout the series. They have they have 430 goal scorers. The Avs have 3. I feel like there's offense that comes from the backside on both teams. I almost the Sharks offense has kind of the advantage in the physical grind it out kind of game, but the Avs have the advantage in the speed transition offense. I feel like they are very even, but in different ways, and it's going to be whichever offense gets to dictate the terms of play will have the advantage. If San Jose's offense turns it into a grind it out, muck it out, get type of thing, that's going to be better for them because the pace is going to be slower. If the Avs are able to make it into a good passing possession, skating contest, then there's almost nobody that can stick with them. So I'll give it a push. Defense. Who you got?
All around top 7 defensemen, I'll take the Avs. But again, top end, I'll take the Sharks. Vlasic, Burns, and Carlson are no joke.
They're pretty excellent. Oh, Callie.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. For me personally, I call Vlasic Pickle, and Pickle is one of my favorite defensemen. So it's they aren't a joke as far as their top end guys go. And I think it'll be interesting to see what matchups they try and go with defensively. If we do keep our top line not together, just to see kind of where they shift things. But I think along with like the point of keeping everyone guessing, the Avs have the better defense as a whole because you can throw anybody out there together and they can perform just as well. And I don't know if there's a whole hell of a lot of teams that can do that necessarily, where you can just kind of throw anybody on the ice as far as defense goes and it'll work out. But it seems like the Avs have been able to do that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know a single other team that does it the way the Avs have done it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Most others just say, oh, yeah, this is our first pair, second pair, this is our third pair. And Bednar goes, these are our 6 defensemen.
yeah.
Yep.
They will go where I tell them to go.
I will mix and match based off of the situation.
Am I starting in the defensive zone? Am I starting in the offense? Are we in the left? Are we in the left dot? Are we in the right dot?
How much time is left? Do we have? Did we just? All kinds of stuff.
And you can tell exactly how aggressive Bednar is being based on like when McBarry and Girard are out.
Mm-hmm.
You can just tell that he's gonna, if he throws them out together, he's going for it.
Yep. I'm going to give the defensive nod to the Avs on this one, mostly because of the addition of Cale Makar. He's just a huge X factor in so many ways. I cannot believe how much ice time he is getting so fast. I can, but I can't. I can, but at the same time, I can't. I'm like, that was 3 games. Your first 3 NHL games in the most pressure-packed situations, and he's getting over 20 minutes of ice. Unreal. And he just shows up out of nowhere. He's solid defensively. He's a fantastic passer. And I think that level, he brings up the rest of the defense in such a way that while, yes, Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson are absolutely in a universe all by themselves, and Marc-Edouard Vlasic is probably the most underrated defenseman in the NHL. The rest of the overall mixture of it just does not, I think, live up to where the Avs can be with their defense. They have high-end scoring of their own on the back end. As you were saying, Aaron, there's just, it seems the mixing and the matching in the various situations can keep everybody so off guard that I think the Avs have an advantage, albeit a slight one, have the advantage on the blue line.
You know, because I have these 2 teams up next to one another. People talk about how Cale Makar is quote unquote undersized. He's 5'11", 190.
Yeah, he's
Do you know what Erik Karlsson's measurements are?
About that?
6 foot 190.
Yep. The Avs also, I would say the youth is there. I mean, Vlasic again, he's not super old, but he's 32. Karlsson's 28, getting that, that's still, he's still in his prime. You don't worry too much about that. But even so, watching him in this Vegas series, for a lot of it, he looked exhausted.
He's hurt something fierce.
Yeah. And then Brent Burns again, amazing talent. 34, he was looking very tired in this series, in that last series.
I mean, the mileage on Brent Burns is just excessive.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of minutes this year.
And as you're saying, Aaron, the minutes for them are so heavy that, I mean, if they're not only if they're not keeping things out, but if they're not producing something, that's a huge hurt on the Sharks.
Yeah. Burns is averaging 30 minutes a game.
That's crazy. That is
Vlasic
crazy.
is averaging 23-45.
And Burns, those three are going to get matched against McKinnon.
Yeah.
And Karlsson's averaging 27-15.
Yeah. And those three, some combination of those three are going to see McKinnon every time. And McKinnon's getting a lot of ice in these playoffs. But McKinnon, you heard him talk about it in the Calgary series. He's sitting there going, I feel great. I'm a kid.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
22, 23, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scary quote from him was like, "Yeah, I still after overtime." It's like, "Yeah, I feel like I still have legs for days.
Yeah.
Like I could play another game right now." And the other side's going, "What the hell?
Yeah.
We are just so fucking tired right now. I can't. No,
I can't even walk out to my car."
I need a gurney, a nurse, an IV, and 3 days rest."
Yeah.
Man. Oh.
I did want to touch on, you brought up Cale Makar's passing,
Yep.
so I just want to touch on that for a second. He had this one pass out of our zone, and it was during a line change, and he just bounced it off the boards, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? There's no one. Oh my God, that was amazing, because Colin Wilson just came streaking over and just picked the puck right up, and I was like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
no way. How the fuck did you do that?
His
Like,
hockey
did you just
IQ.
not that pass in your head? Like, oh my God.
Yeah, his vision is astounding. Absolutely
amazing.
astounding. I mean, it's hard not to... Go ahead.
I was so, like, taken aback by that, because I was, like, so furious, and then it was like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, I can't believe you have that skill level in your 20.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I know so many people got on Sakic and Makar, really, for allowing, quote-unquote, Makar to go back to UMass for a second season. But, man, did that look like a fantastic decision. He's just more mature. He's bigger and stronger, and he's just, like, he's not... He got this deep run into the national championship, so he's already had huge hockey to play. And he's already got the mentality.
The best thing is, it was Makar's choice purely because he wanted to work specifically on his defense.
Yeah.
So he could get more experience, so he could be better on that end of the ice. That's a lot of maturity at play there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that I love is it seems like the team has completely welcomed him with open arms. And I love it.
He got a good big Landy hug that first game.
Good
So he
big
didn't get the
landing
water
hug, and then
bottle
the
celebration.
Cowboy had a Nuggets game. It's great.
It's so nice to have a locker room, I think Makar said it, where everyone feels accepted, and you're just bringing everyone in and making them feel like they're part of the whole unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of been the bigger strengths of this team for the past couple seasons. I mean, you hear it from all the local beat folks that talk about this as such a tight-knit locker room that they've been playing for each other for a long time, and they're you really see it. That's what one of the big things they always say, and the people are always talking about in these playoff runs is it's guys playing for each other.
I mean, as a team, they went to a baseball game with Makar already, and they went to the Nuggets game last night with him. So, in the short amount of time that he's been here, he's already been exposed to that. And I think taking him to those events, too, shows him that the entire Denver sports family is there for each other as well. Because at the Nuggets game, they had the Avs players, they had Von Miller was there. You know, the same thing happens whenever the Avs are in the playoffs, and, you know, you'll get the Rockies players every now and then. So, like, I think the entire sports industry in Denver, the players are all there for each other as well. It's not just the Avs, which is really cool and really rare to see as well.
Yeah, I just wish the media coverage would follow suit.
Yeah.
Last spot, goaltending. I think this is one of the only places where it's pretty clear cut who has the advantage. Wait a minute. No, sorry.
That was greatly coordinated, Callie.
Yeah, we totally did. It's like we've been to the games.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straight. I think the thing is pretty obvious. Grubauer has been on fire for over a month now.
2.
Yeah. Oh, he's been is just fantastic. And it's a game of craps with Martin Jones. You just don't know what you're going to get. And if the Avs can get to him and shake him early, then that is not good for the Sharks.
Yeah, you know who Martin Jones kind of reminds me of?
Who?
Semyon Varlamov.
Yeah.
Great or terrible, nothing in between.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know he battles. He definitely battles. But I mean, like the third goal for Vegas yesterday, I was like, oh man, Dunzo. Never. That's such a bad goal.
And then what happened?
Right?
He was the one that woke up, not him necessarily.
So let's see here. Shall we make predictions?
Sure.
Or do we want to? I mean, quick advantage special teams, or I don't know.
No, special teams are clear Sharks.
Yeah.
Don't put them on the frickin' power play.
Yeah. No. God, no. Don't put them on the power play. They're scary.
Yeah.
Whereas, kind of, we were saying that last for the Avs Flames, if the Avs could make that a special teams series in their make it about special teams, they'd stand a better chance. That's
opposite here.
It's very much the opposite here. If it becomes a special team series that very heavily favors the Sharks. Granted, I don't think their PK is particularly scary. You don't want to be trying to trade power play goals with that group.
Mm-hmm. And then I would honestly give the Avs the advantage in coaching. Slight edge.
Yeah, same there, too. Yeah, I agree.
All this together, I think the Sharks win in 7.
Ooh. Sharks in 7. Okay. Callie, what do you think?
God, it's so hard because the matchup between these two is just so good in, like you said, very different ways. We're just snake bitten against the Sharks, which is the thing that makes me so nervous, which I know I said earlier we were against the Flames too, but I think it's for different reasons. And I just worry that, as they usually do, the Sharks will be able to slow down our offense. So I think I have to give it to the Sharks, and either 6 or 7.
I mean, I'm torn here. Again,
because your heart's telling you one thing and your brain's telling you another.
I'm torn in a couple ways because I mean, we did that whole podcast about there's no chance the Avs are making the playoffs anymore. Man, what a disappointment of a season, and boom, they go into the playoffs. We talk about how, man, this could be a fun series against the Flames, but man, there's no way. I just don't think the Avs have enough to get the Flames, and boom. So why break tradition? Might as well continue going against the Avalanche in the sense that it that it actually will benefit them in the long run. Honestly, though, the Avs, of course, San Jose has been a house of horrors for the Avs. They've struggled there, but they have struggled in Calgary. They struggled in Calgary for so long. Go back a year, they struggled in Nashville for so long, and managed to overcome things in both of those situations. I don't think this hockey being played now has any resemblance to the hockey that was played in those buildings during the regular season. I think San Jose is vulnerable. I think the Avs are the rested team. San Jose's coming off this wild, emotional, physical, brutal series where they looked exhausted. And it took having their captain injured to galvanize them a little bit for the 30 minutes that it took to get them the series. I don't think that they can stretch that out over another 7-game series.
I'm real curious how game
to them
one.
because superstition.
What?
I said, but give it to them because of superstition.
I'm trying to not believe in superstition.
Oh my God, you're gonna be the reason we lose. I'm putting this on you.
Fine. I will carry the mantle. I think the Avs have the advantages where it matters. I think San Jose is too old to go as it was just their age started to show, and now they've got to keep up with another fast, speedy team that can also play physical when they need to, that is super skilled. I think the Avalanche win the series in 6.
I will say if the Avs are going to win this series, it will be in 6. I don't see them pulling out Game 7 in San Jose.
I agree with that. If it goes 7, I think San Jose will win that. But I think I think the Avs split the first one of the 2 in San Jose. I think they take care of business at home, drop Game 5, win Game 6.
Okay, I'm real interested to see how Game 1 goes.
I am too. Yeah. I don't think San Jose can ride that super emotional high. They are bound for a letdown.
Well, the San Jose is coming off a really emotional win, and they've got a little bit of momentum. But the Avs have had a bit of a break, so see how they come off that. See if it takes the Avs maybe a little while to get their feet underneath them again.
Yeah, I can see that happening for sure.
I will say I don't think a Game 1 loss is the end-all, be-all.
Agreed. It wasn't last series.
It's last series.
Yep.
And you've got to bring it to Pepsi Center tied 1-1. That's a must.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're tasking yourself with winning at least a game in San Jose, possibly 2.
Yep.
And that's tough.
Yeah, listening to the teams, to the Avs, especially McKinnon, just the way he's like, yeah, dude, I can skate forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty apparent the Sharks can't right now.
And I think this Avalanche team has a way different mentality going.
I agree.
Where it's like, thank you, next.
Yep.
They're not. They don't do it.
I know we're giving Callie a heart attack over there.
Yes, you guys are killing me because I'm very superstitious.
You did your part. You picked against them.
I picked against them too.
Aaron picked against them too.
I'm saying they have a different mentality. I'm not saying that's going to change the outcome, but it is going to guide them for years to come.
Yep.
Where it seemed like last year against Nashville, they were just glad to be there.
Yeah.
And this year they're like, nope, we're here to win. We're here to do more. This getting here is not an accomplishment anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you get it from Landeskog, you get it from McKinnon. Eric Johnson's been huge on that. Jared Bednar's been huge on that. Just it's not arrogance. It's a quiet confidence of if we play our game, if we do our stuff, we can play with any team in the league.
Cool. That's a perfect way to end it, I think. We'll let this breathe. Enjoy. Get ready for what should be a fun series. One of our shorter ones. Hey, we're not even in an hour. Well done. I'm excited. I'm excited for this upcoming series, everybody. So we'll let everyone kind of get out of here. Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade podcast. Aaron, Callie, thanks for chatting. Always fun.
Always a good time.
Always fun.
Cool. We'll see you all for Game 1. Let's go Avs.